Ooh, close pickup. You called for a ride? Oh, my bad. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that intro, and in all seriousness, we are talking about driving Lyft. I drove Lyft for 30 days to see how it was, and with the pandemic going on, a lot of people have started driving. I'm gonna break down what I've spent and how much I've earned in this video, so stick around to see all that. So when Lyft was just a young company and just coming around, I actually interviewed to drive with them probably 6 or so years ago. I went through a driving interview, I filled out all their paperwork, and I ended up not going through with it even after doing all that prep. The reason I didn't was back then, they had you change your own insurance policy and you had to include some more coverage, and it was just a hassle, and I called my insurance and it just was kind of a pain to get around, so I never finished that process and never ended up driving with them until last month. Luckily now it's much easier to get signed up with them, and all I had to do was submit my driver's license, my current insurance, answer a few questions, and they run a little background check. I started this on a Saturday, I believe, and by Monday morning I was good to go. I think that I was even ready on Sunday, but I waited till Monday to get my first rides in. So it wasn't a long process to get signed up, and it was way easier than it was the first try. So when I signed up, I don't know if it's an ongoing thing, but they had a $1,200 guarantee if you drove 120 rides in 30 days. So that was my goal, that was the benchmark I was shooting for. I didn't drive full time, but I did drive when my schedule allowed, and I tried to reach that 120 rides in 30 days. If you have enough time each day, that's really only 4 rides a day, and giving yourself a day off as well. So it definitely seemed reachable. So some days I had to drive more, and other days I would just hit about that. So what the $1,200 guarantee is you would drive 120 rides within 30 days, and if you hadn't made up to $1,200, they would pay you the difference. For them, it was a win-win because they got new drivers to help their riders, and if you earned enough, they wouldn't have to pay anything, and if they did pay you, it might not even be that much. I did end up earning a couple $100 in the end, and I'll go over those numbers with you. So to get ready as a driver, I ended up buying a car wash pass, and that lets me use their car wash unlimited times, and it was only $30 a month, and I really liked having that pass. More than I thought I would. I liked it so much I'm gonna actually add our other car, and the nice thing is it's only $15 to add additional vehicles, up to 5 vehicles. So if you're considering that, that's probably worth it. But as far as other supplies, let's go over what I got. Okay, so let's go over a few of the things that I keep in the car ready to go at all times and that come handy when giving rides. So first of all, I bought this bucket for like $2 at Walmart to just hold all this. I throw this in the front passenger seat because Lyft doesn't let people ride shotgun right now with the pandemic stuff going on. So first of all, I've got sanitizers. This is a big refill bottle. I've got a big squirter. I've got some disinfectant wipes that I can wipe down the back seats. You can wipe it down after every ride if you want to. They also have the spray cans. They were out when I went to the store, so I got the wipes. I've got some Febreze. I've had a few smokers in the car, so it's nice to spray down some Febreze. I bought this brush to get the dash, keep that nice and clean throughout the day. It gets dusty. I've also got cleaning wipes and glass cleaning wipes. When I go to the car wash, I can wipe down the car. And these are like $1.50 each. You don't need to buy anything crazy, and you can just get these and keep your car nice and clean. I've also got a bunch of these disposable masks. Lyft won't let you give a ride to a passenger technically if they are not wearing a mask. And I've had probably 4 or 5 rides where they didn't have a mask, and technically they're supposed to be turned away, but luckily I just whip one of these out and say, here's a mask, they're making us do it right now. I know it's annoying, but here you go. And I've never had like a bad complaint about it. They're actually all pretty grateful. I got these little lights. It's like like this string of lights, a little copper wire, and it plugs in a USB. I tried running them on the ceiling and kind of just making a fun little nighttime experience, but I ended up not liking them in the end. Mainly, I couldn't mount them very clean, so it just didn't look as good as I wanted to, so I ended up taking those down. But I know a lot of people will try to decorate and just make their car stand out and give a better experience. I bought just like gums, mints, Tic Tacs, things like that. I just ended up just folding down the middle divider for the cup holders, and I just stick gum in there if passengers want. I know sometimes with wearing a mask, you can feel stuffed up and stuff, so it's nice to have like a fresh gum or something. I also keep a lint roller in the back seat, as well as another squirt bottle of sanitizer ready. I keep those in the back slot behind my driver's seat, so they're not in the seat or anything, but they're available if anyone needs them. And last thing, I've got a double USB Carport Charger. I've got an Android and iPhone charger that I'll plug in here, and my car's got a cigarette lighter in the back, so this is just right in the back, accessible. I've had quite a few people plug in their phones and they're pretty happy to see that. So that's a super easy one that you can do. And inside the car, for my longer passengers, I actually bring my Nintendo Switch, just in case anyone wants to play a game, some Mario Kart or something on a longer ride. Not everyone has taken me up on it. I'll usually offer it if it's a ride over 10 minutes, but again, most people turn it down. But I have had a few people really appreciate that, and I got some good tips. One mom in particular, she was so thrilled to see that. It was her and her boy, and she was going to like a work meeting, and she was trying to work on her phone, getting ready, and the boy was just hounding her, like wouldn't leave her alone. So I was like, hey man, do you want to play the Switch? And he was so happy. He's like, this is the coolest ride we've ever had. And the mom immediately was like, oh my gosh, you are the most amazing driver, and thank you so much, and this is so great. And the kid was totally distracted the rest of the ride, and she got her stuff done. He was happy, and we got there a lot quicker, I'm sure. You can do just little things like that, and I'll sanitize the Switch down after somebody uses it. And for me, when I'm waiting for a new ride, I'll whip that thing out to practice my drifting skills so I can get to my destination a lot faster. One more thing that was really handy is Lyft sends you these stickers to put in your car when you become a driver, but it was kind of annoying to have to stick this permanently almost in your car. So one thing I did is you can get some plexiglass, chop it to the sticker size, stick that on, and then I just slide this up on my dash when I'm driving, and then people know it's me and that I'm driving with Lyft. And then when I'm done for the day, I just pull it right off and stick it here in my bucket, so you don't have to be branded the whole time, which is nice. I don't want to be, so definitely recommend that. So obviously when you're driving, you want to cut costs as much as you can. My main thing is I drive a Ford Fusion hybrid, and it's getting 43 miles to the gallon right now, which is awesome. So after a day of driving, it only costs me like $9 to fill back up. I usually fill up at Costco. It's usually 10 to 15 cents cheaper than other gas stations, so that helps. Just the little things that you can do to help save will increase your profits. If you don't know how to tell what your miles per gallon is, all you need to do is reset your odometer when you start driving on a fresh tank of gas, then drive however long, and when you go back to the gas station, you'll divide how many miles you drove by how many gallons it took to fill up your car, and that will tell you your miles per gallon. Mine luckily tells me, but I used to do that manual way in high school just to keep track of my mileage. I've noticed my miles per gallon have gone up while driving Lyft, and I think that's because I'm almost in like a driver's ed state of mind with driving with a stranger, a passenger. I drive more cautiously, a little slower, and a big thing that I've noticed is when you're on the freeway, if you drive behind somebody who's going the right speed, not tailgating of course, you stay behind somebody and then they are breaking the wind in front of you. No, not breaking wind, breaking the wind. So it's similar to how cyclists ride, one behind the other. The first person is taking the blunt force of the wind, and the people behind him are getting the advantage of that. So it's kind of the same driving. So I hope that helps you out. One thing I didn't know and that they did not go over in the tutorial when I signed up, and I was on an Android, so it might be slightly different for iPhone, but when you arrive, you need to click exit and then swipe that you arrived, and that will send a notification to the rider. I didn't realize that at first, so I would just pull up and wait, maybe shoot them a message saying what car I was in, and they would come out. So just going over the basics, obviously you want to be very polite to your passengers. If I ever noticed somebody had luggage or bags, I would pop the trunk when I saw them coming, and I'd hop out, give them a hand immediately, introduce myself, and welcome them in. I ended up having a lot of rides from car dealerships, and with the pandemic, a lot of them have canceled their shuttle service, so the dealership actually has a Lyft account, and they send a link to their customer, and then the customer can watch live the Lyft ride. So I had a lot of those. The downside is dealerships never tipped me because they didn't see the quality of the ride or anything, so they just schedule the ride and let it go. But obviously, whatever the situation, you want to try and have a nice conversation with your passenger, or at least connect with them. Unless it seems like they don't want to talk or a little closed off, then just respect their privacy. I had one lady, she had just gotten in a breakup, and I picked her up after the breakup, so she was not in a super chipper mood, so I just let her be. We listened to the radio and went on to the next ride. One thing that I actually really enjoyed was getting to practice Spanish with the Latino passengers. Some didn't speak any English at all, some spoke a little bit, but it was a lot of fun getting to practice speaking with them. So if you know any Spanish or want some practice, this is a great opportunity. One thing that was a lot of fun and motivating to help get me out is I love eating out or getting like a smoothie or something. So in the middle of the day, I would get a smoothie or run to In-N-Out Burger and just enjoy a double cheeseburger. I mean, you can't go wrong there. So find something to treat yourself, but don't lose all your money doing it.
Treat yourself. Treat yourself.
I wanted to share some things you might find useful as well, kind of some tips and tricks. So here's some things that I learned. When I got set up, it already had me programmed to have automatic ride accepting turned on. That actually was a really nice feature. I didn't ever have to swipe or click accept a ride. It would just find a person, load it, and send me on my way. If you're trying to contact your passenger, it's got pre-recorded messages that you can select and it will send them, but you can't custom type a message unless the passenger messages you first. One big thing that was shared with me is download the Passenger Lyft app and log in there. That app will show you where other drivers are. So if I wasn't getting any hits after about 10 minutes, I'd pull up the passenger app and it would usually mean that other riders were right around me. So then I'd go to another area where there weren't so many riders or I was the only one. If you need to make a stop or are about done, while you're on a ride, you can click yourself offline and it won't give you any more rides. It will still let you complete your current ride, but it won't add anything else on. I often found when I needed to go to the restroom, it would always tack on more rides, like right away. So it was really hard to take that break, and sometimes you get to that bursting point, so just swipe yourself offline if you need to. Every Monday night, the app will cash you out. So you can't let the money accrue and build up, which is what I wanted to do. So I just had to set the money aside when it hit my bank account. And even though it is Monday night, any ride you do on a Monday count towards the next week. So it will cash you out everything through Sunday, but the deposit starts on Monday night. And I believe I got the deposits on Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. But if you want, you can pay 50 cents to have your money transferred when you want. You have to pay the 50 cents each time you do this, but some people find it worth it to just do it that way and stay in control of when their money hits their account, but that's just up to you. I'll show you the next tip in the phone and that will be a lot more helpful. So in the app, on the top right, you've got these two lines with these dots on them. If you click that, that will give you two options. You can arrive somewhere on time or head to destination. I often would use head to destination at the end of the day. You just click that, hit next, and you can put in an address or a location, whatever you need. So I would usually hit home at the end of the day and try to get myself back that way and get paid to go that direction. So that was something that was super useful. You've got 2 uses per day, so definitely feel free to use that. I actually used it a couple more times one day. It didn't count any of the uses against me. One thing about head to destination is it wouldn't always take me to my city. It would often have me pick somebody up and drop them off in that same city. It wouldn't take me where I needed to go specifically, so it might have you just kind of stay in the area. So sometimes I would just get on the freeway and turn that on, and then it was more likely to get me somebody going where I needed to go. I've had some great passengers and some good rides, and overall you just need to be nice, communicate with them, be friendly, just the general basics, and you'll be just fine. Not everyone will tip you, and even some of my best conversations and passengers didn't end up leaving a tip. But just find joy in the conversations you have, and it will just help you get through it all the better. Thank you for sticking around so far. If you're still in the video, I really appreciate it. And if you can help me out by clicking that like button, that really helps me out, and I highly appreciate it and your time. So now let's go over the earnings for my 30 days driving with Lyft. I started driving on a Monday, so my 4 weeks went by and then I had a Monday to finish. One thing, I'm just gonna round the hours to the nearest hour, just so we're not going into really minute details, but in my first week, I did $271.49. 29 rides. I was online for just over 15 hours and I was booked for just over 11 of those hours. Second week, I did $229.07. That was 22 rides, just over 13 hours online, and just over 9 of those hours were me being booked. Third week, I did $407.43. That was 41 rides, 23 hours online, and just over 15 of those hours were booked. Fourth week, I did $159.78, which was 18 rides, 11 hours online, and 7 of those hours were booked. That last Monday, I did $327.63, and I know what you're thinking, how did you get almost a week's worth of pay in one day? And that's where my bonus hit. So that Monday, I did 12 rides to complete it. It took me 6.5 hours of being online. 4 of those hours were booked, and that got me to that $1,200 guarantee. And I want to get into that a little bit. So on my last day, right after I hit the 120th ride, they immediately gave me $244.59. So I didn't realize that the tips were not counted. So I was only expecting like 30-40 bucks, which was still nice. I mean, I had gotten that far, so I wanted to get that extra 30-40 bucks, but I was very pleased to find out that tips did not count, and I got that $244 extra, which put my whole day over $300, which was awesome. So if they're still running that program, I highly recommend it, because all in all, grand total in 30 days was $1,415.40. That was 122 rides total. It was around 70 hours, and 47 of those hours were booked. One thing, I couldn't quickly find my miles in the Lyft app. So if you already drive or end up driving and find out how to see your miles, let me know in the comments. I couldn't find that right away, but luckily I did happen to reset one of my odometers when I started driving, and I haven't reset it since. So I took that number and subtracted what I know I've used the car for outside of that, and it was right around 1,400 miles that I drove. Again, that's a guesstimate. I could be slightly off, but that'll give you an idea. Now you could definitely keep this mileage lower. One thing that I was doing in the beginning that I'd stopped doing at the end is I was logging on and then driving to bigger cities, whereas I should have just gone to a medium city and then headed wherever. But I would go all the way up to much bigger cities, which cost me a lot of miles. So you can definitely avoid that if you want to. And even near the end, I actually wasn't even going that far, maybe like a 30-mile range. I live near a few colleges, so I often would just stay local around there. And especially if you're trying to get a bonus, it makes more sense to do a bunch of short little rides and get paid out in the end and use less mileage, which is what I started focusing on in the end. So you don't need to travel as far to go to big cities to make sure you get rides. Overall, it was a great experience, and if you've been thinking about trying it out, I recommend it. The downsides for me were all the wear on the car, being out for long periods of time, and not knowing where exactly you're going to end up in the day. But those were minor cons for me. I am a social person and I like getting out, so I got over those pretty quickly, but they were kind of on my mind as I went. If you're thinking about driving, I've got a referral code. I'll link it down below, just so they know I sent you, and I really appreciate you watching this whole video and sticking it out with me. I would appreciate it if you could leave me a thumbs up, give me a comment if you found something valuable, and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this.